Allahumma salli ala Allahumma salli Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Nahmaduhu wa nusalli ala rasulihil kareem. Amma ba'd. قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في القرآن المجيد والفرقان الحميد بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وإذ قال موسى لفتاه لا أبرح حتى أبلغ مجمع البحرين أو أمضي حقبة. Respected brothers and elders, mothers and sisters in Islam, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to keep us in the company of the righteous in this world. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala raise us amongst the righteous on the day of Qiyamah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala fill our lives with mercy and rahmah, as all of us are in the need of the rahmah and the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The ayat of the Quran that I recited in front of you is from the 15th Sipara, the 15th juz, and the surah is Surah Al-Kahf, which is the 18th surah in the order of recitation, and the ayat number is verse number 60, ayat 60. In this particular ayat of the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is mentioning to us the story of Musa alayhi salam. And just to step back a little bit, that we have mentioned multiple times, that 28 out of the 30 siparas, the 28 out of the 30 juz of the Quran contains the story of Musa alayhi salam. And every time the story repeats itself, like the story of Adam alayhi salam and Iblis, the story of Musa alayhi salam and Fir'aun, they always give a new message, something different in every juz of the Quran. And there is some sort of reflection to take back. And in this very particular story, we're talking about the story of Musa alayhi salam, again, in this particular chapter, Surah Al-Kahf itself has 4 stories and 4 examples. If you look at the larger picture of the entire story itself. Amongst the biggest trials that we have as people, as individuals, the tests that we have in our lives, if we were to look at the overall picture of the tests that we have as human beings, we have either the test of Iman that we go through every single day of our lives. There's a test of our faith. And the Nabi of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, the test of faith will become so difficult, like holding a burning charcoal in your hand near the day of Qiyamah. That's how difficult holding on to your Iman will become. To the extent that the Prophet ﷺ said the fitan and trial will become so deep and dark that a person will leave with faith, with Iman, and will return back while they have lost their Iman. That's how difficult the test and trials of Iman will begin. So amongst one of the trials that we all go through, some less, some more, but every one of us is touched in some way, is the trial of our Iman that we all face every single day. And may Allah protect all of our Iman, because that's one of the biggest things that we need to protect, is the protection of our Iman. And the other trial that we all go through in our lives is the trial of wealth. Sometimes Allah gives us the money and checks and sees what we will do. And sometimes the money is taken away and then seen what this person will do. In one riwayah, Rasulullah said, sometimes poverty of an individual could take him towards kufr. Hadith of Rasulullah. So wealth given or taken could be a test from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the trials of wealth. Then the trial of power. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can grant someone the strength, the power. How do we use that power? In the right way, in the wrong way, the correct way, in justice or injustice. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also gives us knowledge. Allah gives us ilm. And how do we take this ilm? Beneficial or not? So these are 4 stories that rotate around or goes through Surah Al-Kahf. The story of the trials of Iman and faith, the trial of power, the trial of knowledge, the trial of wealth. These are all the trials that the story talks about. Within the story of Musa alayhi salam, then we see sub-stories. Story of Musa alayhi salam and Khidr. And amongst one of the stories that we find is the journey that he takes with this young man known as Yusha bin Nun. So Yusha bin Nun, as a few days ago we mentioned, that Yusha was the nephew of Musa alayhi salam. And if you remember, there is a hadith that the Prophet ﷺ said that the sun has never stopped for anyone except for Yusha bin. That's that young man who was in the boat with Musa alayhi salam looking for Qidr. So let's go back to this ayat of the Quran where Musa alayhi salam says, and Allah reminds us with qala Musa li fatahu. And remember when Musa alayhi salam said to this young man, young assistant of his. And who is this fata? This young man is actually his nephew, whose name is Yusha bin Nun, who later on became the Nabi of Bani Israel. When Musa alayhi salam passed away, then this fata, this young man in this ayat of the Quran, became the next prophet of Bani Israel. And he is Joshua, and he is that same individual who led Bani Israel inside Baitul Muqaddas. The first time the Israelites were able to enter inside the promised land. So he said, وَإِذْ قَالَ مُوسَى لِفَتَاهُ, when Musa alayhi salam told this young man, this assistant, this nephew of his, La abrahu, I will never give up. The word La abrahu in Arabic means that I will strive till the last breath of my life. La abrahu hatta abluga majma' al-bahraini aw amdi huquba. Either till I reach the point where the two seas meet, even if I have to travel for all of my life. Huqab in Arabic means 80 years. Generally, there are points like 10s, 20s, 30s, 40s. The word huqab in Arabic means 80s, or it also refers to a long period of time. And even some linguistics have mentioned that the word huqab means a lifetime. So Musa alayhi salam is telling this young man that I will spend my entire life looking for the place where the two seas meet, where I have been ordained to find a man who Allah has given and gifted with knowledge or information that I don't have. And if you step back a little bit from this very story, what we know is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed upon Musa alayhi salam, that there is a person that Allah has gifted with knowledge or information that you do not have. The zeal to go and look for that knowledge within Musa alayhi salam was such that he's the Nabi of Allah. But he's humbling himself to a point that he says, I will strive for my entire life and I will strive to look for that ilm. So one of the conditions ulama have mentioned of true ilm or seeking knowledge is the desire to have knowledge. And forgive me, brothers and sisters, today we have come to a point where we become so content with what we know of our deen. Never for our dunya, never for our worlds. No one becomes content and says, I'm very happy, I don't want anything else. I just want to prepare for it. But when it comes to deen, whatever I know, that's it, nothing more than that. So this is a Nabi of Allah saying, I will strive for the rest of my life to look for a place or a person that Allah has given certain knowledge that I can find. It is mentioned that Abbas radiallahu anhu, Abdullah ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu, the great companion, he would sit at the doorsteps of Sahaba for ilm. And he would not even knock or open their doors or ask for them to come outside. And whenever they would walk outside, they would see him sitting outside. And they would say, you are the cousin of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If you would have ordered us, we would have walked to your house. He says, this is against the shan and dignity of ilm that you walk to me. It is my zarura or my need that I sit at the doorsteps of yours. And it is mentioned, and to going back to the point is the talab and the desire. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam always created that desire within the hearts of his Sahaba. The continuous desire for ilm, desire to grow, desire to learn. And that's why having the talab and the desire to learn is one of the components that we should all be developing in our hearts. How can I better my salah, my deen, my Islam? And it reminds me of a story from the life of Imam Shafi rahmatullah. That same person we talked about a few nights ago days ago, when he was sitting in the gathering of Imam Malik rahmatullah, a young person, and he extracted so many masail. So Imam Shafi rahmatullah had a great teacher. His name was Waqi'. So Imam Shafi rahmatullah said, Shakawtu ila waqi'an su'a hifzi. He said, I'm a student, young person, and it's in couplets. Imam Shafi rahmatullah was known for his couplets. Inshallah, if Allah gives us tawfiq, we should, you can do a series on the ash'ar of Imam Shafi. They are so beautiful and full of depth and knowledge. So Imam Shafi writes and he says, Shakawtu ila waqi'an su'a hifzi. I did shikayat, or I complained to my teacher, Waqi'a, Su'a hifzi. Su'a hifzi means bad memory. I cannot remember things. I want to learn, but I have a very bad memory that I'm unable to restore things. So, shakawtu ila waqi'an su'a hifzi. I did shikayat, I complained to my teacher of bad memory. فَأَوْصَانِي إِلَى تَرْكِ الْمَعَاصِي. This is my student years. So he said, my teacher said, فَأَوْصَانِي إِلَى تَرْكِ الْمَعَاصِي. So my teacher gave me the wasiyat, or the advice, to leave sins, تَرْكُ الْمَعَاصِي, to leave behind the sins. فَإِنَّ الْعِلْمَ نُورٌ مِّنْ إِلَهِي. And then he said, indeed, the ilm is the light of Allah, it's the nur of Allah. وَنُورَ اللَّهِ لَا يُعْتَى لِعَاصِي. And the light of Allah does not enter a heart that is sinful. The light of Allah does not enter a heart that is sinful. This is Imam al-Shafi saying this at the time of his student. He said, I did shikayat that I cannot memorize things. I lose memory. I want to learn. I can't. And the teacher told Imam al-Shafi that the ilm is the light of Allah. It's the nur of Allah. And it's not given to any person or heart that commits sins. And if you go back, or if you go a little bit further in this ayat of the Quran, where Musa alayhi salam goes and asks Khidr, and this is Musa alayhi salam. Imagine the jalal of Musa alayhi salam, where the incident occurred with Musa alayhi salam and Pharaoh, and he hit someone and he passed away. And then when he's going to Tur and he's being told, you can't see Musa. And he said, no, Allah, I want to see. This is the jalal of Musa alayhi salam. But when he comes in front of Khidr, what did he say? He asks him, قَالَ لَهُ مُوسَى هَلْ أَتَّبِعُكَ. He says, can you please take me as a person of knowledge in the ilm and knowledge that Allah has gifted you? He humbled himself as much as he could. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's teaching to his Sahaba from the life of the previous prophets was the continuous talab of ilm. And this is one thing that I humbly request myself and all of us, is that we should continuously have the desire, as they say, from mahad to lahad, from the lap of our mothers to the cradles, from the cradle to the grave. There should be a continuous talab and desire of learning and coming closer towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And ilm is something that opens doors towards Jannah. As the hadith of Rasulullah said, whoever takes the path towards knowledge, Allah opens the path towards Jannah. I'm not saying that all of us will be able to give full time and be able to, leave our works. No. Little small steps that we take every single day towards ilm, inshallah, will lead us towards a point that we can find and get close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Recitation of the Quran, meaning of the Quran, the seerah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the works that we do, the halal and the haram within our works, what is permissible, what is not permissible. This is all ilm that will allow us to get towards the direction, inshallah. So again, this is the 15th sipara, this is the 15th juz, this is surah number 18, and this is verse number 60, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions to us the incident of Musa alayhi salam and this young man, which is known as Fata in this ayat of the Quran, as a young assistant, who was the nephew of Musa alayhi salam, who became the prophet of Allah, known as Yusha bin Nun, which led Bani Israel inside the promised land. But he said, oh my young man, telling this young person that I will spend my entire life, eternity, or till my last breath, till I reach the point where I can get, but Allah has informed me of what I do not know. Which means the talab, the desire, and of course the strength to be able to find ilm. And of course ilm is something which is a gift of Allah, that we should always ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to open our hearts towards ilm of khair and knowledge. And not only ilm on our tongues, but ilm that is in our lives and practically in our lives as well. May Allah give us tawfiq, inshallah. Subhanallah wa bihamdihi, subhanakallah wa bihamdik, nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, nastaghfiruka.